What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and it's time for my Week 2 college football predictions. Going to take 10 games and give you a score prediction for each game. Going back to last week, got 7 out of the 10 games correct. Really wasn't surprised by anything. The games that I missed were Colorado and TCU, and I said that really didn't know what to expect in that game. Missed that one. Florida State, LSU, missed that one. Really didn't see that collapse coming with LSU in the second half. I thought there was a really good shot that Florida State would win that game, but not necessarily the way they did, at least in the second half. So I was surprised by that. And then the Duke-Clemson, that was just such a strange game. I did say that I thought Duke had a chance, but Clemson just so many mistakes in that game. You wonder if they don't have those fumbles and all those missed opportunities. You wonder how that game would have gone. But those were the three games that I missed last week. Everything else was correct. And again, I think we were pretty close to the point spread in those games. It went about how I expected. But let's get into week 2 now. We'll start with Illinois and Kansas. So Friday night game tonight, big game for both of these teams, looking to get off to a 2-0 start. Kansas favored by 3. Illinois, I talked about it, their defense. I thought their defense was a little bit of a letdown against a similar type offense in Toledo, and Jalen Daniels was out for Kansas in week 1. He will be back. I think this offense is going to score some points in this game. You wonder about the power run game for Illinois. Can Kansas slow that down? I'm expecting a pretty close game, but I'm going to go with the Jayhawks. I think Kansas gets it done 34-24. They win it by a touchdown and a field goal. All right, next game, Notre Dame, NC State. This game will be at noon Eastern time on ABC. Notre Dame favored by 7.5 points on the road. This is one I think a lot of people circled in the preseason for Notre Dame to potentially be on upset alert. I disagree. I think Notre Dame will win this game. I really like what I've seen so far from them. Sam Hartman, I think, definitely helps their offense. Their defense is going to be really good. Run game, really good. NC State is a team that I wasn't really high on coming into this season. I had them just going 6-6, and they didn't really look great against UConn. I tell you what, Brennan Armstrong is going to be huge for them because he's probably going to win them some football games. He was basically their offense in that first game, and the defense was kind of inconsistent. I think they're going to have a hard time with this Notre Dame offense. I think this game is not super high scoring, but I'm going to say Notre Dame wins it by a couple of touchdowns. So 31-17. I don't think the game is super close. I just think Notre Dame is a much, much better team than NC State. All right, next we got Nebraska at North Carolina, noon Eastern time. So what's going to happen next here with Colorado? They surprised a lot of people in week 1, and now they're the favorites at home against Nebraska. I just wonder, how is this game going to be? I talked a bit about this on the Big Ten channel. By the way, I'll have every Big Ten game predictions for all those games over on the Big Ten channel. Please help us out. Subscribe there if you're interested in Big Ten football content. But I talked about in the preview video over there that the psychological factors in this game are really interesting because you have Colorado coming off of such a huge win, and Nebraska coming off of another devastating loss. And it's just, is it going to be here we go again with Nebraska? I don't know what's going to happen in this game. I think it's about as unpredictable as the Colorado TCU game, except we now know that Colorado is legit, and I don't think we know too much about Nebraska yet. So some uncertainty here. I think Colorado's offense playing at home, I could see them coming out, maybe making some mistakes and getting a little too amped up, and Nebraska has an early lead like they did. They had a lead against Minnesota, if you remember. But I think Colorado's offense at the end of the day is just going to be too much. I think they will find a way to get it done. They come from behind, they score late, they win it 35-28. And anytime you're picking Nebraska, it's pretty easy, right? Just pick them to lose by 1 score because that's what happens every single time, it seems like. So we're going with Colorado there. Texas A&M, Miami, 3:30 Eastern time on ABC. A&M favored by 4.5 points on the road. I've really had a tough time with this game right here because I think both of these teams are much improved from last year. I think they're both going to have really good seasons. They're both really talented. It's a tough one to pick. I mean, I was really back and forth on this game. I just think that the weapons on Texas A&M's offense are going to be just a little bit better. I think they sneak out a close one. I'm going 27-24, very close game, but it's really it's almost like a coin flip. I really feel like Miami has a chance to win this game We're going with the Aggies, though, 27-24. We've got Ole Miss and Tulane next, 3:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2. Rebels favored by 7.5 points on the road at Tulane here. This is going to be another really good game. I like Tulane. I think they're going to be good, but I think Ole Miss's offense is just a little too much for them. I'm going to go with the Rebels, 38-34. I do expect a high-scoring game, a shootout, but I think Ole Miss does find a way to get it done. Again, close win, but I'm going with Ole Miss. Next, we've got SMU at Oklahoma. This game's on ESPN Plus, which is just really annoying. I won't be able to watch this game because I think this game has a chance to be really good. Oklahoma favored by 15.5 points. This is not a knock on Oklahoma. I just think SMU is going to be a really good team this year. They might even have a chance to win the American. I know Tulane is there, UTSA is there. I just really like this SMU team, especially on offense. They've got a lot of weapons, and I think they'll be able to score some points in this game and make it very interesting. A close game. I think Oklahoma, based off of what we saw in week 1, and maybe we're overreacting, but it looks like this team has kind of turned the page. They look like a new team this year, a different team, a better team. I think they win, but pretty close. 38-28 is my prediction. Sooners, I think this will be a 4-quarter game. Oklahoma maybe gets a score late to push it to two possessions, and they win it. Again, 38-28. Next, we got Texas, Alabama, 7 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. Bama favored by 7 points in this game. All right, so preseason, I did pick Texas to win this game. And maybe I'm overreacting to week 1 because both of these teams played cupcake opponents, but Texas offense just didn't look great. It was just out of sync. Quinn Ewers couldn't seem to hit the deep ball, something that I think he's going to have to do against Alabama. He did it in the game last year before he got injured, and it just seems like something is still a little bit off with Texas, but their defense looked really good, and I think they're going to be good on that side of the ball. Problem is Alabama is also going to have a really good defense. And Jalen Milroe looked really good in that game, but I don't think he'll look as good against this Texas defense. I think the run game for Alabama and his ability to run will help that run game. And I've changed my prediction here. So I'm going with Alabama to win it 23-19, very similar to last year. Low-scoring game, a lot of field goals. But I just, at home, I'm going to have to go with Alabama. So I've changed my pick from the preseason. And a lot of that is based off of what we saw in week 1. All right, next we got Oregon, Texas Tech, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Oregon, 6.5-point favorites. Game's on Fox. Maybe this is a trap game because of Oregon putting up 80-something points and Texas Tech losing to Wyoming. But, even if that had not happened, Oregon was the team here for me. I was going to pick them in this game. Texas Tech didn't look great against Wyoming, of course, and Oregon didn't play anybody good, so it's hard to know for sure how this, obviously we don't know for sure how this game is going to go. I think it'll be pretty close. I think Texas Tech will play much, much better, but not enough. I'm going with Oregon, 35-24 to get the victory here in this one. All right, Wisconsin, Washington State, 7:30 Eastern Time. Wisconsin favored by 6 points. This game's on ABC. Washington State looked good in their opener, and the Cougars look like, I talked about in the preseason, this is a sleeper team. This is a team that's really being underrated, and I like their weapons on offense. I like their production coming back, their experience, defense pretty solid. And Wisconsin, to me, just doesn't look like it's clicking for them just yet. Tanner Mordecai threw a couple of interceptions in their opener. I think, and I said this on the Big Ten video, I think Wisconsin is going to be really good by the end of the season, but I think it's going to take them some time with all the new pieces. The passing game is just not where it needs to be yet. And I think Washington State pulls off the upset. I'm going with the Cougars here, 27-26, maybe a game-winning field goal. Or let's say, no, I'm going to say that they block a Wisconsin field goal. Wisconsin has a chance to kick a field goal to win it, and they either miss or they get the kick blocked. I mean, I know that's crazy to try to predict that specifically, but something like that's kind of how I see this game going. And so then we move on to Auburn, California. This one's at 10:30 Eastern Time. The final game we'll pick this week. Auburn favored by 6.5 points. Game's on ESPN. I just think people are overlooking this Cal team, and I said this a lot during the offseason. This is one of the most experienced teams in all of college football. They are absolutely loaded with returning production. Jaden Ott is one of the best running backs in the country. Yes, in the country. I think people just don't realize. They bring in a transfer quarterback. They have a veteran at that spot now. Some weapons at wide receiver. I think this Cal offense is going to score points. Auburn's defense, especially against the run, didn't look great in that opener, and that's something I think they've had some issues with even going back to fall camp. And on the flip side for Auburn, I think their offense will be able to score in this game. Robbie Ashford, a weapon in the red zone. The run game is going to be really good. So I'm expecting a shootout. And the over-under here is 54. I think it goes way over that. And I think it's just kind of a back-and-forth offensive-type game. I don't know if I trust Peyton Thorne to go on the road and pull off a win like this in his second game with this team. This is a tough one, but I'm going to actually go with Cal to pull off the upset. 37-34. They kick a game-winning field goal as time expires. And again, that's way too specific to even be trying to guess. But I'm going to go with Cal to pull off the upset. So I've switched my, and this pains me to do this, but I've switched my pick in this game and the Alabama game. I had Texas winning in the preseason and had Auburn winning in the preseason. I also have flipped my Washington State, Wisconsin pick from the preseason. So perhaps I'm overreacting to some things I saw in week 1, or maybe just have a little bit more insight on these teams after watching them play. But those are my predictions. Would love to get your predictions. Give me your predictions on these 10 games down in the comments below. You don't have to give me the score picks, but just give me your winners. And thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.